Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, where your journey to empowerment takes center stage. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, best-selling author and publishing expert. Together, we'll dive into the hearts and minds of visionaries, disruptors, and trailblazing leaders to explore the most compelling and thought-provoking ideas in life, business, and marketing. Let's inspire, impact, and ignite. This is the Tarryn Reeves Show. Welcome to another episode of the Tarryn Reeves Show. Today, I am joined by one of my authors who has written with me or writing with me twice, Rai Hyde Cornell. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
My absolute pleasure. It's always a joy to be in your presence. Now, Rai is the CEO and senior copywriter at Cornell Content Marketing, and she's a business mentor and coach at Chiron Consulting. This woman runs two businesses, you guys. She is a powerhouse. As a mentor and coach at Chiron Consulting, she works with freelancers and self-employed entrepreneurs to help them dramatically increase their incomes and their quality of life as independent income generators. At Cornell Content Marketing, Rai teaches entrepreneurs and business owners how to use content to build powerful, lasting relationships with customers. Over her 15 plus years in online marketing and writing, Rai has worked in hundreds of businesses, helping them grow and achieve their goals. Though she no longer works in the mental health field, her deep understanding of human behavior, emotion, and decision-making is honored in everything she teaches and creates for her clients. Rai, so happy to have you with me. Now, you wrote inside of the multi-author book projects that had incredible success when we launched, called Corporate Dropouts. Tell me, for those who are watching or listening, can we have a sneak peek of what your chapter is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because after reading the book and reading everyone else's stories, it just felt even more important for me to tell this story because my story is called The Black Sheep Who Became the Alpha Wolf. And it's really all about how for so many years I was forcing myself into this one pathway. And by the time I actually achieved the goal that I was quote unquote supposed to go after, I was there so briefly and I bailed out of it as quickly as I possibly could to return to what I had always been doing, who I had always been. And I feel like my story in corporate dropouts is very different from everyone else's. And I love all the other ladies' stories. They have such powerful, incredible stories. But I feel like mine is still the black sheep. And yet at the same time, it just rings true to this pattern of returning to who you really are and throwing away all of those shoulds that people really put on you as you're brought up in modern society. Get the good grades, go to the good college, get the office job, all of that. So.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. And in my own experience, when I am speaking, it's monitoring that self-talk. It's like, oh, I should be doing this. And I've trained myself, and it has been a practice that as soon as I hear myself saying should, I pause and go, hang on, what's going on here? Do I really need to be doing this? Do I want to be doing this? What's the purpose of me doing this? And then make a decision from there, because it is so ingrained in us that should. And really, it's not true.
Exactly. And it's the should, according to whom. For me, a lot of my story is about the shoulds that were coming from people outside of myself, my father, my grandparents, the people I was living in my dorm with, the shoulds from outside. Those weren't true to who I actually was, who I actually am. And when I started listening to the shoulds from within me, those shoulds were more about my integrity and living up to my true identity. They weren't about what everybody else wanted me to be doing.
Yep, it's definitely, you've been on quite a ride, and your chapter really does reflect that. So I love that your vulnerability and your courage to share your story in there. Thank you so much. Now, you did work in the mental health space, be it ever so briefly. Can you share with us what it was like working in that space, the experiences you had, and perhaps why you chose to leave?
So I say briefly because by the time I actually had the job, I was no longer an intern. I was no longer a trainee. I was no longer a student. I only had that full-time job for about 4 months before I quit. And yet I had been studying psychology. I had been getting my bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, one in marriage and family therapy, another in criminology for 6, 7 years. something crazy like that. And then doing internships and training on top of that. And so I was in the official full-time role capacity for only 4 months. And I think, especially when you're a student and you're working up to the thing that you're supposed to achieve, there's this idealized picture of it. Oh, it's going to be so great. I'm going to help so many people who are in their darkest places. I'm going to be the one that helps them get on the path that they're meant to be on. But then you get in it. And in my opinion, our mental health system is so broken. It is so restricted by protocols and red tape and bureaucracy that you can't help people on the human to human level that they really need help on. You are helping them by pushing papers and answering phone calls and putting them through scientifically tested intake processes and all of these things that just really take the humanity out of what people really need. And I couldn't live with that. In my story, I talk about a man who I encountered for the third time, and I couldn't keep putting him through the same protocol. And it's that departure from the humanness that I think, especially in our hyper digital age, we all really need, that I couldn't be a part of it. So I left.
And what do you think is just coming to me now, the realization that many people suffer from mental health issues because of a lack of human connection or nurturing, whether in their childhood or young adulthood years? Can you speak a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's very much a part of our Western society. And I talk about this in my chapter as well, to be tough, to be strong, to not let anything get you down, to work long days, work hard, achieve, 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 achieve. And all of that requires shutting off your emotions, not getting invested in other people on that human and emotional and relational level. And so there's these forces pushing us to accomplish all of these things that are very devoid of human connection. And we have to sacrifice our vulnerability, acknowledgement of our emotions, acknowledgement of the actual thoughts, the scary thoughts, the good thoughts along the way. And so it's no wonder, especially I work with so many freelancers and entrepreneurs now, they do have depression, they do have anxiety, they do suffer from PTSD. And it's almost like this natural byproduct of living in such an achievement oriented, corporate oriented world. In my experience, I know therapy has worked for a lot of people, and there are some amazing therapists out there. Some of them are my good friends. And so I can't knock mental health in the traditional therapy world entirely. But in my experience, therapy keeps people trapped in the past, keeps people trapped in rumination and reprocessing and reliving things to an unhealthy extent. Whereas coaching and mentoring, which is where I decided to go after building my own freelance business. I really wanted to be able to walk the walk that I was talking. But coaching and mentoring keeps you focused on the present moment and the future. It acknowledges what you've been through in the past. It allows you the space to take information from that, but it also gives you the momentum and the courage to move past it so that you're not dwelling in that past place. And for me, that is how I overcame PTSD. That's how I got over depression.
I couldn't agree with you more. Someone myself, we've got so many similarities.
Yeah.
I've got a degree in criminology and I
Yeah.
never ended up using it. I happened to go into the railway and chose a different path to follow love, my husband. And I had PTSD, chronic depression, and major anxiety. It's all three labels they slapped on me in one go. And I was, whoa,
Yeah.
what's going on here? And it really was this combination of traumatic childhood experiences, but also living in a society and living totally out of alignment of who I was in trying to achieve those shoulds, like you said. And I did try various counselors and things, but I was like, you don't know what I've been through. I was really resentful about that. I was really angry for a long time. And it was only when I started finding my people, finding people who I resonated with. And I've always been the weirdo. I don't think we can all agree that I'm pretty out there. I'm the weirdo. You refer to yourself as the alpha wolf, the black sheep. And I can very much relate to that as well. And we're all human. Even though we are the black sheep, it can be very hard to come to terms with that and to find the people who will accept you for who you are, because we're also conditioned to be these carbon cut versions of one ideal, one perfect person. In reality, there's no such things. There are so many colors to the rainbow. There are so many facets to a diamond. There are so many aspects to the human experience. And I really crave, I used to tell myself, I don't need anybody. I'm tough. I can do this on my own. I can be, but deep down, I really did crave that connection, even though I'm a massive introvert and I very much am like, come play with me. And then I'll be like, nobody talk to me. It's very much this kind of, I'm in my cave and then I'm out of my cave. Who wants to play? No, I'm going back in my cave now. Experience. And it is such a joyful place when you do find your people because they do exist. And this is another thing that you said. You were talking about bringing up vulnerability and what's really happening for people behind the scenes and that human connection, which is why I am so passionate about holding the space and facilitating the projects like Corporate Dropouts and She Speaks and all of the other amazing books, solo books, multi-author books that we do here at Four Eagles, because we tell the real stories. We are not interested in editing out or diluting anyone's voice. It is real, raw, vulnerable storytelling. And the whole purpose, the whole aim is to create connection and allow people to see you for who you are. And it's such a powerful process. So, Rai, you've got the two businesses. We can see them there, Chiron Consulting, Cornell Content Marketing. Tell me a bit about both of them. What we touched on it briefly in your intro, but it's always better from the horse's mouth, so to say. Tell us what you do
Sure.
with each of those. Who's it for? What magic do you create?
Cornell Content Marketing is my marketing agency, and it really was born out of my necessity to provide for myself. I started freelance writing fresh out of high school, which I dropped out of high school when I was 16, started freelance writing, had no idea what I was doing, didn't even know there was a name for it, didn't even know what freelancing was, figured out along the way. And ultimately, after it's been 15 years now that I've been doing this, I've grown my business into a full service marketing agency. And now we work with B2C businesses, mostly those who do things like subscription boxes and who sell products directly to consumers, because I feel like everybody has a natural ability. Everyone has a natural gift, whether that's drawing or photography or art or writing or music, whatever it is. And mine is embodying other people's voices and putting what they can't figure out how to string together the words, putting words to that voice. And so I do blog content, copywriting, website design and development, all the marketing things for those B2C businesses. And then naturally, as I was building my team, I was hiring freelancers, I was hiring independent contractors, and many were younger than I, and just naturally fell into this mentor role with most of the people on my team. And it felt so good to be able to tell them, increase your rates. Oftentimes I was going to my team and being like, no, I'm not going to pay you this low rate. That's absurd. How dare you say that that's your rate? I'm not okay with that. I'm going to double it. This is what you should be earning as a freelance writer, because I had been there before as well.
I think the same with my team. I'm like, I'm not paying you that. I'm going to be paying you this.
Exactly. And it felt so good. And people just seemed to need that advocate in their corner. And so while I had, like I said, walked the walk in becoming a freelance writer and an agency owner, I then decided to mentor other aspiring freelancers and self-employed creatives to build their own businesses to whatever scale that you want to be. I have some people who their goal is to make $50,000 a year. That's it. They don't want to go any higher. They just want to sustain and keep things simple. I have others who have $1 million aspirations. So that's what I do on the Chiron Consulting side, is mentoring through workshops, one-on-one coaching. My mastermind, which is coming up in July, all the things.
So exciting. I love it. And Rai is a perfect example, you guys, for the multi-passionates out there. We are told so often that we can only do one thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually have to get this up for you. Let me just find it quickly, because that quote, the jack of all trades quote,
Master.
what this full quote actually is,
No, I don't think I've ever read the full quote.
it actually says the complete opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. So the way that society has changed it and molded it is telling us you can't do more than one thing. You can't be more than one thing, which I'm sorry, is completely at odds with
Agreed.
the very human experience. For us multi-passionates, like I run 3 brands, Ray, you've got two. And I've spoken to so many women who are creative like that and are like, oh, how do I? And they really struggle to fit themselves into this
Yeah.
one box. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a process to it. You do have to focus on one, build it up before you add in another moving part. Otherwise, you'll just keep having to come back and rebuild. But let me share the original saying with you. And I was having this delightful conversation with one of my friends, Melissa Keenan, about this because I was saying, I'm worried about communicating. How do I communicate without confusing people? And then I was like,
Yeah.
hang on, it gets to be really simple. I'll just talk about it. And then
Yeah.
she shared this insight with me. The complete original saying is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
No way. Oh,
Right.
I've never
So
heard
it's
that second
actually
part.
intended as a compliment. It means that a person is a generalist rather than a specialist, versatile and adept at many things.
Yeah. I
Right?
actually just talked about this on my podcast. I just did an episode called To Niche or Not to Niche.
Mm,
And I said the exact same thing. You have to start as a generalist because in this path of self employment, you have to learn so much about yourself. And until you do
yeah.
things, all the things, you don't know whether you like it or not. You can suppose and you can wonder and you can imagine, but there's nothing like actually getting your hands on it and doing it. So I always recommend that people start out as a generalist
Yeah.
before they niche down because it's a myth that you can only make money if you are super ultra niched.
Yeah. And also when people are like, oh, but I want to work with a specialist. With people like Ray and I, we have specialist companies,
Mm.
right? The CEO is the multi-passionate. We're the creatives. We have our hands in the various pies, but we employ people who are the specialists in their different areas. And we remain the visionary. We remain the leader. That doesn't mean that we cannot deliver a very specialized service because that's exactly what we do. But it's also keeping in alignment with who we truly are and what we're here to do. And it's to be the visionary and the leader. So I hope that's all been very enlightening, as enlightening for you guys as it was for me. I was like, oh my God, how
It's
many more
huge.
sayings have we bastardized and changed to suit the main theme? So, Ray, who do you love to work with? Are there two separate pods of people for the two different businesses? Tell me.
Yes, absolutely. It's often very different groups of people, which I'll be honest, makes running two businesses very difficult when you're speaking to two completely different audiences.
Yeah.
But I'm providing two very different services. The marketing side of my brain and the writing side of my brain loves to work with product based businesses. So often I work with subscription companies and personal hygiene brands, clothing brands, those sorts of solutions that people want in their life. And then on the Chiron Consulting side, I work with freelancers and self employed creatives. So designers, freelance writers, photographers, VAs, OBMs, branding experts,
Yeah.
anyone who is in that creative space, because ultimately, all the things it takes to build a successful freelance business and to be self employed when you are giving your own creation in exchange for money, it's all the same. And yet at the same time, my approach is very much to tailor it to each individual person because everyone is different. Everyone has different energy. Everyone has different levels of comfort with introversion, extroversion, marketing themselves, all of these different aspects. And so I don't take a cookie cutter approach to mentoring my freelancers. Everything is custom to who I'm working with. And that's how I've been able to get such amazing results for the clients on the Chiron side.
Yeah, amazing. The only place that I like my cookie cutters is when we're making gingerbread cookies and I
Yeah.
just eat it all. Now tell me, what are you up to? What's next for you in either business, personal? What is Ray up to?
Oh man, a lot of creation. So oftentimes,
Not like you.
no, not at all. Oftentimes on the Cornell side, I do a lot of creation for other people. I'm always writing brand messaging guides, marketing emails, landing pages, all the things that people need to get the word out about what they're selling. And I often don't get to create a lot for myself on the Cornell side, but we're changing that this spring. I'm releasing a course called the Content Creators Bootcamp, which is going to teach people all the things that I have learned in my 15 years of writing content for the web so that they can do content marketing for themselves in-house, which is often the best option for people who are just starting out, bootstrapping their business, and they can't afford to hire a marketing agency. On the Chiron side, oh my God, so many things. Every month I have a new workshop coming out. In April, we're doing Find Your Ideal Client, Stand Out from the Competition. In May, we're doing non-sleazy sales tactics for creatives. I have a course out that I'm revamping with some feedback that I've gotten from my wonderful students called Money Mindset Mastery. Always doing things on manifestation and teaching people how to not only deploy the business building tactics that they need, but also make sure that that's in alignment with their energy, their mindset, all that actual horsepower that is inside the machine of you. And then I have my mastermind, which is opening for registration in May, and we are starting things in July 2022.
Oh, so
Just
exciting.
a few things. Oh, and then of course, my book. I'm writing another book with you, which I'm
You
thrilled
are.
about. So
Yes. Give us a sneak peek of your solo book that's going to be
Oh,
coming out very soon because I'm going to kick your butt into gear. Tell us more about it. Give us a sneaky.
yeah. So I feel like, especially because I had to teach myself this business building stuff along the way. And luckily, I have been very fortunate to work in hundreds of different businesses. And so my book is really pulling together everything that I've learned from the business building side of things, as well as the energetic side of things. And I don't know what you would call it, my signature position, I guess, or my great mission in life to get people to wake up to the insane amounts of power they have in their minds. And we talk so much in Western culture about learning skills and taking courses and getting certifications and getting degrees. And yeah, okay, cool. Learning that stuff and having that hands on experience is one thing. But if it's completely contrary to your energy, or if you are putting yourself in this place of working an 8 to 5 when really your natural energy pattern is designed to work from 2 to 5 and then from 10 to midnight, taking what we can understand about our own natural energy patterns, the power of manifestation, which is actually, it sounds like a very woo woo thing. And I like to talk about it in that way, but it's actually a very deeply rooted scientific part of our brain and part of our human chemistry. So it's going to be basically a guide to building your business with both the business building tactics and the energetic tactics.
It's going to be such a powerful book, and I'm so honored to walk beside you on that journey. It is going to be absolutely epic. So exciting. So tell me what it was like. You have chosen to write with me twice. What has it been working with myself and the team here at Four Eagles Publishing?
Oh, it's been amazing. And I think something brought us together. And you were first on my podcast. And then we were talking, and I learned about the corporate dropouts project. I was like, well, no shit, I'm going to be a part of this. This is made for me. Thank you, Tarryn. And then everything has just been so perfect and so seamless. Your team is incredible. They are always on it. And one of the things that really, as someone who I do consider myself very introverted, I can do these speaking things in spurts, but then I have to go recoil and drink my wine and hug my husband and cuddle with my cat. And one of the things that scared me about writing in corporate dropouts was someone altering my voice, because brand voice is so important to me. And one of the things that I really appreciated about your approach to publishing is you didn't change my brand voice. And the editors on your team respected the way that I phrased certain things, even if they maybe weren't the most polished way to write something. Maybe it felt a little awkward, but that's because I felt awkward
Yeah.
in communicating it and I needed it to be that way. And so that experience of just having my story honored in that way, I felt like I got everything that I could possibly get out of writing that chapter. And that came with the healing. It came with being able to really put that chapter of my life behind me because I had given it the time and attention it needed. And you gave it the platform to be out there, and you didn't let anyone fuck with it. This is Ray's story. This is how it's going to be. Nobody touch it.
Yep, that's
I love
exactly
that.
right. Thank you so much. It's something that we really, really are passionate about. And the publishing industry itself, the writing industry, if you like, has really got this reputation. And I don't think a lot of people realize until it's too late, until you're locked into that contract, that they will tell you what you can and you can't say. And the reason being is because it's all about the money. It's all about how can we say something that's going to drive the most sales? Never mind the truth. At Four Eagles Publishing, we are so passionate about telling that story exactly how it's supposed to be told, with all the energy and the intention and the power that it has for transformation. And I really think that it's this new era of storytelling. It's this new era of people waking up and going, I can speak up. I can say what I want to say in the exact way that I want to say it. And I can be vulnerable and I can create that connection. My story is worthy of telling.
At the same time, it's not like I don't want to make it sound like you were like, okay, go write your chapter. And then I handed my chapter back to you and you're like, okay, it's published. It wasn't like that at all. You gave so much support along the way. Like you taught us about storytelling and structure and how to really connect with people. And all of that education and support and training that you gave us along the way allowed us to create these chapters. And then you said, okay, this is how it's meant to be. So it was the perfect process.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. It really is my absolute joy and purpose to be facilitating and guiding these stories. And I can't wait for your solo book. Now, Ray, how can people come and play with you? How can they come and find you?
Absolutely. So if you need help with your brand voice copywriting, check me out at cornellcontentmarketing.com. But if you are a self-employed creative, if you're a freelancer, if you're about to embark on that journey and you want to be a corporate dropout, check me out at chironconsulting.us. And that's CHIRON consulting.us.
Beautiful. I will pop all of those links in the show notes so that you can just click away, go and hang out with Ray. She's got an amazing, beautiful, sunshiny energy. And I love hanging out with her. Now, as we've spoken, Ray has written and already been published inside of Corporate Dropouts, which is a multi-author book project that had great success on an international level. If you have not read that book yet, then please go and get a copy because it really has such inspirational, powerful stories in there. And if you know of someone who could benefit from the book, tell them about it. There is a Kindle version, a paperback, and a hardcover version available. We like to cater to as many people as possible, provide as many different options. It's available on Amazon. Just search Corporate Dropouts for a beautiful gold cover. Now, let me be clear, it is not a book about bad-mouthing corporate at all. Some people are made to thrive in corporate and others won't, and there is no right or wrong. So either way, whatever camp that you're sitting in, you might just be unhappy in your corporate job or not feeling fulfilled, and you may just need a transition within corporate. That's okay. You will still find immense value inside of Corporate Dropouts. And of course, if you want to write, publish, or market your book or your story, whether that's a multi-author book project that we've got open for applications or your own solo book, we have a number of done with you or done for you services here at Four Eagles Publishing. Send me a message, come and play with us, make the inquiry because your story is absolutely 100% worth telling and has the power to change not only your life, but somebody else's as well. Ray, thank you so much for your time today. It's always an absolute pleasure. And I am sure we'll be speaking again soon.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Tarryn.
My pleasure. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you love the insights and inspiration, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe to stay connected and turn your visions into reality alongside our community of changemakers. I'm Tarryn Reeves. Thank you for joining me. And remember, your story has power. See you in the next episode.